Imagine waking up in first-century Galilee, long before any digital alarm clock rang. Jesus' world wasn't illuminated by artificial lights or bombarded with urgent notifications as soon as he opened his eyes. In the Jewish culture of that time, morning was considered the most powerful spiritual moment of the day, the first offering of time to God. Jesus woke up in simple stone houses, where sunlight timidly filtered through the cracks and the sound of life beginning was the only noise. For a devout Jew of the first century, and especially for Jesus, waking up was not a mechanical act but a liturgical one. The awareness that the soul had returned to the body after sleep was a cause for profound and immediate reverence. They understood that the battle of the day was not won at midday, but in the first seconds of consciousness, before setting foot on the hard-packed earth. It was a moment of anchoring, where the mind was tuned to the frequency of the Father before hearing the voice of men. The great historical curiosity is that Jesus did not wake up randomly. He followed a pattern of biblical truths rooted in the Torah and the Psalms. He knew that the human mind needs direction before facing the demands of hungry crowds and hostile religious leaders. The thesis we will explore today is that Jesus, in his humanity, needed these truths to maintain his emotional stability and unwavering focus. We live in a time where waking up is synonymous with anxiety, rushing, and checking screens. But what if the secret to the mental health and productivity you so desperately seek was hidden in the morning routine of a carpenter from Nazareth 2,000 years ago? Jesus didn't just pray. He aligned his identity before the world tried to define it. Today I'm going to show you what those 5 absolute truths were that guided the Master's first hours. This isn't about religiosity, but about an ancient spiritual technology that can shield your mind from modern chaos. If you apply these truths, the way you see your problems will change before you even get out of bed. The first thing that came from the lips of a devout Jew at dawn, and certainly from the lips of Jesus, was the Shema Israel. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. This was not merely a repetitive prayer. It was a declaration of supreme reality that reconfigured the brain for the day. Before thinking about hunger, cold, or Roman persecution, Jesus reminded himself of who was on the throne. This biblical truth established God's sovereignty above any earthly circumstance that might arise. By reciting these age-old words, the mind shifted from survival mode to sonship mode. Jesus began the day reaffirming that control of the universe was not in his human hands, nor in the hands of Caesar, but in the hands of the Father. For us, historical and practical application is absolutely necessary. We wake up thinking about what we have to solve this. Jesus would wake up remembering who God is. This reversal of priorities takes the weight of Atlas off your shoulders. When you start the day remembering that you're not the manager of the universe, your anxiety loses its foundation. Imagine the neurobiological impact of starting the day with absolute certainty instead of frantic worry. Jesus shaped his mindset with the assurance that there was a greater plan at work and that he was part of that plan, not a victim of chance. This generated an emotional stability that left those around him perplexed. Therefore, the first truth is about identity and sovereignty. Before checking your bank balance or your messages, declare who God is. This puts your problems into the right perspective. They are small before a God who is one and is sovereign. It is the ultimate antidote to morning dread. The Gospel of Mark 1:35 gives us a fascinating tidbit. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place. The Greek word for solitary place is we will, which means a solitary, quiet place. Jesus actively sought silence as one seeks oxygen. In Jewish culture, silence was not emptiness, but the space where God's voice could echo without competition. Jesus knew that as soon as the sun rose, the noise of human demands would be deafening. Therefore, he created a spiritual buffer zone before the day began. He did not allow the voice of the world to be the first thing to enter his ears. This discipline of silence was a form of rigorous mental and spiritual hygiene. Jesus refused to enter the battlefield without first receiving orders from the general. He understood that intimacy precedes activity. Without this time of We, will even the Son of God, would be subject to the emotional wear and tear of the crowd. The modern application of this truth is a direct challenge to our addiction to noise and information. We wake up and immediately invite chaos into our minds through our cell phones. Jesus teaches us that mental and spiritual clarity requires a temporary divorce from noise. If you want to have the wisdom of Jesus, you need to adopt the silence of Jesus. It's not about having free hours, it's about prioritizing the first few minutes to tune into the right frequency. The consequence of this is a mind that is not easily agitated, that remains calm in the midst of the storm, because it was already in calm before the storm began. In Jewish morning prayers, which Jesus knew from childhood, gratitude for light and the return of the soul was central. Light was not merely a physical phenomenon, but a profound symbol of divine guidance and favor. Giving thanks for opening the eyes of the blind and clothing the naked was part of the daily liturgy that shaped the heart for contentment. Jesus grew up seeing Joseph and Mary practice this gratitude, understanding that life is a fragile and precious gift. In a world without advanced medicine and full of dangers, waking up alive was a daily miracle. This attitude of gratitude before petitioning realigned the heart to see abundance, not scarcity. This biblical truth transformed his perspective on the day. Instead of focusing on what was lacking, comfort, political security, resources, Jesus began the day celebrating what he had: life, purpose, communion with the Father. Gratitude is the key that changes brain chemistry, reducing cortisol and increasing serotonin. For us, the lesson is to stop starting the day with a list of complaints or unfulfilled desires. The modern application is simple, yet revolutionary. Give thanks before asking. Give thanks for the light coming through the window, for the air in your lungs, for the opportunity to start over. When you anchor your morning in gratitude, you become invincible in the face of small frustrations. Traffic, cold coffee, or a grumpy boss lose the power to ruin your day because your satisfaction has been established in something higher. And prior to all of that, it's the realignment of the heart towards hope. The Jews of the first century were often travelers who journeyed along dangerous roads filled with robbers. Therefore, they recited the songs of ascents, or psalms of protection when leaving home. Jesus, who walked tirelessly between Galilee and Judea, lived this truth. The Lord will watch over your coming and going. This confidence was not recklessness, but an active dependence on divine protection. Jesus knew that his life was safe until his time came. He walked through hostile places, faced angry crowds and storms at sea, with a courage that came from this morning's certainty of protection. The biblical truth here is the surrender of control over physical and emotional security. Paralyzing fear had no place in the mind of one who trusted that the angels of the Lord encamped around them. Jesus operated from a base of security, not constant defense. Today, our robbers are anxiety, fear of the future, financial insecurity, and urban violence. The modern application is to leave home or start working from home, reciting the truth that God watches over our every step. This drastically reduces the level of underlying stress we carry. The consequence of living this truth is emotional courage. You stop living defensively, afraid of what if, and start living offensively with purpose. Trusting that God protects your path frees up mental energy that was previously spent on useless worry. Jesus didn't wake up to see what would happen. He woke up with a mission. His phrase, "My food is to do the will of him who sent me," reveals that his morning began with a clear definition of purpose. For a first-century Jew, obedience to the Torah was the way of life, not a burden. This awareness of purpose acted as a filter for all of the day's decisions. If something didn't align with the Father's will, it was discarded, no matter how urgent it seemed. Jesus woke up determined to be obedient, and this simplified his life, eliminating distractions and temptations. In that historical context, each morning was seen as a new opportunity to fulfill Israel's calling to be a light to the nations. Jesus took this to the highest level, living each day as an intentional step toward the cross and redemption. He didn't live accidental days. He lived intentional days. The application for today is to start the day by setting a practical spiritual intention. Not just, what do I have to do, but who will I be today? Deciding that you will be patient, honest, or loving before getting out of bed shapes your reactions. The result is focus and mental strength. In a world of endless distractions, those who wake up without purpose become hostages to the agendas of others. But those who wake up with the truth of obedience and purpose, like Jesus, navigate the chaos with a firm and unwavering direction. How did these 5 truths translate to the dust of Galilee? Imagine Jesus walking miles under the scorching sun, dealing with disciples who didn't understand anything, and Pharisees who wanted to kill him. If he hadn't anchored his identity and purpose in the morning, he would have collapsed emotionally. The morning strengthened his mind to resist temptations in the desert and pressures in the temple. When the crowd wanted to make him king by force, he withdrew, remembering his true purpose set forth at dawn. When the boat sank, he slept, trusting in the protection he had declared at sunrise. We cannot view Jesus solely as God, forgetting that he lived the full human experience. He felt hunger, weariness, and sorrow. These biblical truths nourished his human soul, enabling him to endure the unbearable with dignity and love. For us, the parallel is direct. Our days are filled with modern-day Pharisees, critics, slow disciples, difficult colleagues or family members, and long walks, traffic, and routine. If Jesus needed these truths to get through the day, how much more do we? The emotional impact of seeing Jesus as a model of daily mental strength is liberating. We don't need to invent a new self-help technique. We simply need to look at how the Master managed his own inner life before managing the outer world. Don't worry, you don't need to move to the desert or live like a nomad to apply this. Bringing each truth into the 21st century is entirely possible and takes less time than you spend on Instagram. It's about high-impact spiritual micro-habits. Truth 1, identity, can be practiced while you brush your teeth, mentally declaring, God is sovereign over this day. Truth 2, silence, can be the 5 minutes you spend in bed before picking up your cell phone. Truth 3, gratitude, can be said while you open the window or take the first sip of coffee. Truth 4, protection, is your prayer when you lock your front door or get into your car. And truth 5, purpose, is defining your intention on your way to work. These are simple actions, 3 minutes each, but they shield your mind from the chaos of urban life. This creates long-term emotional resilience that no medication or therapy alone can offer. You are building a rock foundation in a world of sand. Modern anxiety and emotional overload are symptoms of a soul that awakens disconnected from its source. Emphasize to yourself the practical value of living ritually with God. It's not about being religious. It's about being functional, wise, and stable. It's about applying ancient wisdom to heal the wounds of modernity. When you adopt this pattern, the transformations are visible. Spiritually, you feel a peace that surpasses understanding, a focus that cuts through distractions, and a sense of purpose that gives meaning even to boring tasks. Emotionally, stability replaces the roller coaster of feelings. Courage takes the place of chronic fear. You become less reactive and more proactive. People around you notice that there's something different, a serenity that doesn't match the chaos of the environment. In practice, you make wiser decisions and have a clear mind. Ignoring these truths comes at a high price: a confused life, constant pressure, and anxiety that never goes away. Living without this morning alignment is like trying to drive a car without oil in the engine. You'll break down. Change isn't magic. It's the result of applied spiritual discipline. It's the neuroplasticity of faith. You're training your brain to operate according to the laws of the kingdom, not the laws of fear. I invite you to reflect on this for yourself now. How do you want to start your day tomorrow? Do you want to wake up reacting to the world, or do you want to wake up governing your inner world, just as Jesus did? The choice is yours, and it defines the quality of your life. Today we navigate through the 5 truths that underpinned Jesus' routine: the sovereignty of God, the necessity of silence, the power of gratitude, the certainty of protection, and the clarity of purpose. Recapitulate this not as a to-do list, but as a lifestyle that brings real mental strength. Don't let the 4th watch be just a historical curiosity for you. Make it your secret to productivity and peace. Jesus left us the model. It's up to us to have the courage to follow him in a world that screams the opposite. Start tomorrow. Try it for a week and see what happens to your anxiety. The Bible is not an old book. It is the most advanced manual on human existence. If you have learned to hear the Master's voice through his habits today, imagine what else you can discover if you continue digging into these truths. I want you to leave this video not just informed, but transformed. May your next sunrise be the beginning of a new season of strength and intimacy with God. If this content resonated with you, follow the channel. Here we explain the Bible with historical depth applied to real life, in a way that transforms understanding into wisdom. Click follow and continue this journey. The Bible is ancient, but its answers remain alive, and if you learn to listen to it, you will see life with a clarity that few possess.